You're listening to Power Talk, Berkeley Electric Cooperative's official broadcast about the cooperative, our communities, and ways to use energy wisely. And now, let's join our hosts for today's episode. Good morning and welcome to another edition of Power Talk. I am Micah Ponce, the Communications and Media Specialist here at Berkeley Electric Cooperative, joined as always by my loyal co-host and boss, Libby Roig, the Director of Marketing and Communications.
Hey, Micah.
Hello. Well, we like it on Power Talk. It's full house. That's our favorite time because then you don't have to listen to us as much, and you can listen to our special guests sitting to my left if you're watching on YouTube, or backwards, I don't know. The girl sitting next to me is Brianna Johnson, our public relations representative here at Berkeley Electric. Welcome, Brianna.
Thank you for the beautiful welcome, Micah.
You're welcome. Try to, throw out those accolades. And
the girl next to you, love it.
Yeah. I wasn't going to say anything.
The young lady.
There you go.
Glowing radiantly to my left.
Thank you.
And we are
better.
Talking about glowing women today.
We are.
So a little
so
teaser.
I'm off to a great start, aren't we? The other very important guest that we have in studio with us today is Miss Peggy Dantzler, the Vice President of Loss Control and Training for the Electric Cooperatives of South Carolina. I had to take a breath there.
Yeah.
That was a long title.
Welcome, Madam Vice President.
Well, thank you. I don't know if I necessarily deserve that title, but they gave it to me anyway. So.
Well, one of the things we do here on Power Talk is we have to present you with your ceremonial mug. You are part of the elite group of people. You only get that mug by sitting in a room for us for 3 to 4 hours.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And the other part of our welcoming ritual is we ask our new guests who haven't been on the show before to tell us a little bit about your background, how you worked for the cooperative, and, your current role at the Electric Cooperatives of South Carolina, and anything else you'd like to share with our listeners today. Okay.
Well, first, thank you all very much for inviting me to come and to speak about our topic today. And I began my career back in 1990. I started out at Mid-Carolina Electric Cooperative in Lexington, South Carolina as a meter reader, and I did that for a few years, and then I was approached about joining a line crew, and I thought, why would I want to do that? But then I really gave it a thought, and I thought, okay, yeah. So I left the meter reading department, and I became a line worker, and I did that for several years, and then I left the line work crews, and I went in and managed the warehouses for Mid-Carolina. Did that for a few years, and then my CEO came to me and he said, I'd really love for you to consider doing safety at Mid-Carolina. And my predecessor left at the time, and I was like, no. No, I do not want that job. Of all the jobs, I do not want to do that. And then I got to thinking about it, and he talked to me a little bit more, and my operations manager talked to me some more, and I said, well, okay, yeah, I think I can do it. And I've been doing it ever since. And so I worked as a safety director for 12 years, and then I was approached by the statewide association, Electric Cooperatives of South Carolina, and they wanted me to come be the regulatory compliance person.
That sounds like fun.
Well, people always say, gosh, you just love it. And I'm like, no one loves it. No one. But there was a really big need for that, and I needed that at my co-op. And it was just an opportunity to do what I needed to do for my co-op, but also to do it for all the co-ops that they needed. And I felt like they did. And so it was a great opportunity. I did that. And I did that for about 6 or 7 years, and then my vice president decided to retire. And my CEO, Mike Cowick, came to me and he said, hey, I really want you to do this. And again, it was much like the safety position. I was like, no thanks. And then it was just a matter of, well, if I don't do this, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
And he'd already indicated we'd get somebody from outside. I was like, no, I don't want to mess up our team. So here we are. Been doing this, been at the statewide association now for about 13 years.
Wow. Okay.
35 overall for the co-ops.
There you go. Well, I just hit 25 myself. So.
I was about to say, you got Mike a beat.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, Peggy, we're going to dig a little bit more into your background later in the show.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there. But we're going to talk about a hot topic today. So we've invited you here to talk about the Jenny Ballard Scholarship.
Okay.
We're super proud that one of last year's winners was Tanisha Simmons of Johns Island. So one of our members, we love, being able to bring that back to our community. Simmons is pursuing a bachelor degree in special education from Columbia College. So can you give us a little information about what their scholarship pays for and why you feel and why statewide feels that it's important to support women in this way?
So the scholarship can be used towards any qualifying expense from the college or university. So it can be used for tuition, it can be used for books, it can be used for lab materials, basically anything that student would need to pay for school. We also ask that they use the scholarship within the spring and fall semesters of the year that we award the scholarship. We don't want to drag that out because sometimes it can get confusing, because any money that's not used, we ask that the school returns it to us so that we can award it to another deserving individual. And it's important to support women through this scholarship, because these women are individuals who were not able to go to school, or either maybe they went to school right out of high school and they didn't finish. And a lot of them, they have families, or they've got children that are in school and they just can't afford to go back to school. And so when the scholarship was developed, the W.I.R.E members thought it was important to support women trying to go back to school.
Yeah.
And help them get there, because again, when we read the applications from a lot of these individuals, they have children in school, and they don't want to use their money on themselves. They want to pay for their kids, and so this is just a way to help them. And so we're very happy that we can do that.
Yeah, and what a wonderful way to create generational change, you know, when the kids see mom working so hard toward finishing her degree, you know, that's got to make a huge impression on the whole family and a rallying point around her.
It's funny that you say that, Libby, because when we read those applications, the essay portion, a lot of those women talk about how important it is for them to go to school and show that their children, show their children that you can do anything if you put your mind to it, even as an adult, even with a career, even supporting a family. You can do it as long as you put your mind to it, and they always talk about that in that essay portion.
Wow.
So it's pretty cool.
Well, and Peggy, I'm sure you've met so many deserving women through this program, and what an honor that has to be for everybody involved in the scholarship process. If a woman is interested in applying for the Jenny Ballard Scholarship, what's the process look like?
So they can go online. I believe it's ecsc.org/wire.
Okay.
We do take paper applications at the co-ops. We typically don't want people to do that, because then we have to mail them or fax them, and it's not as easy to do that. But we prefer people go online, and then there are just certain qualifications. They have to be a member of a South Carolina Electric Cooperative. They have to have graduated high school or have their GED in the past 10 years. So not 2 years ago, but 10 years ago or later.
Okay.
So there is a 10-year, space there. We're really trying to focus on those women that haven't been to school for a long time.
Gotcha.
They also have to have acceptance into an accredited university. It doesn't necessarily have to be a school here in South Carolina, because a lot of folks are now choosing to go online to get their degree. And they have to demonstrate financial need.
Yeah.
And then one of the last things that we look at, again, we're looking for women who are trying to go back to school to get that first degree. So whether it's a certificate or an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, that's what we're looking for.
Okay.
Anyone that's already gotten that, or they're trying to get a master's or a doctorate, we typically disqualify those individuals because they've already had that opportunity to get that undergraduate. So that's the focus.
And how much does it pay, the scholarship?
The scholarship is $2,500, and I will tell you that all the money that we spend on these scholarships is raised by our group.
Yeah.
So it's all fundraisers. I mean, I want you to consider that bake sales.
Yeah.
You know, it's anything that we can do to raise money to support this scholarship. We have like an auction that we do. That's typically how we raise the money, and usually we raise enough money we can do 2 in 1 year. So most years we're doing $5,000. So 2 women typically get the scholarship. So.
Well, and Peggy, you mentioned that the woman applying has to be a member of an electric cooperative in South Carolina. So if you're listening and you're wondering how do you become a member of an electric cooperative? So Berkeley Electric serves portions of the Tri-County, so Berkeley, Charleston, and Dorchester counties. If you have service with us, if you get your electricity from Berkeley Electric, you pay your power bill each month to Berkeley Electric, you are a member owner of the co-op. So,
And I will say this, you bring up a good point, because in the past we've had some of the cooperative electric members have their grandchildren apply, and their grandchildren may live like in New York.
Right.
So it has to be a member.
yeah.
So
Yeah, well, I was thinking I could send my wife back to school, but she actually falls into that category because she went to school for education, and then got to the portion where she shadowed in schools and realized that she would end up probably either, hurting the children or hurting herself. She said, I'm just not cut out to put up with this level of shenanigans, and decided that education was not going to be her path forward. And so she just started working. So she never really finished her degree. She's just a tad bit past the 10-year mark, but just barely. Vital, strong young woman, still in her prime, but still, if you're listening, honey. But no, unfortunately, not a Berkeley Electric Cooperative member.
Yeah. So the neighboring utilities in this area, Santee Cooper,
Right.
who the Ponce family has, or Dominion. So if you have service through those folks, unfortunately, this would not be an option for you. But if you have a friend or a family member who is served by Berkeley Electric, and you're pursuing your education, please consider applying.
I will say, talking about your wife, I'm very passionate about this particular project that we do with W.I.R.E, because it's my history. It's my background. I went to college right out of high school. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I went for 3.5 years, and I was in sports medicine, and I just was miserable. And I left school, and
Right.
I was just fortunate enough to be hired by Mid Carolina Electric Cooperative, and as I continued in my career there, I realized, I really need to go back to school. And so it was quite a few years later before I went back to school at night full time.
Right.
And got my degree at Columbia College.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and so when we start looking at these ladies that have been gone for several years, it's important to them, and it's important to me and the ladies that serve on the committee when we go through these applications. But it's just so awesome. We've even had one of the recipients of this scholarship just got in a bad situation, and she finished her education. She ended up having to go to jail for a little while, and she finished her education in jail. And she applied for the scholarship. When she got out, she was trying to go to culinary school. She had a 4.0 GPA.
Wow.
Wow.
And she was one of the recipients of this scholarship. Her story was amazing. Just one of the most positive people I think I've ever met. Just such a great recipient of the scholarship. So anybody, as long as they meet these qualifications, they should really consider applying for the scholarship.
Yeah, and I tell that to my son all the time. It's not that you make a mistake in life; it's how you react to it, and the fact that you don't repeat that mistake.
Yes.
So,
yes.
This woman
She was very positive.
Yeah.
She was just so positive. It was just a great story all the way around.
Yeah. Wow.
Well, you mentioned one of the other groups that statewide has, and that's the Women Involved in Rural Electrification,
Yes.
or W.I.R.E for short. And that's how we refer to it around the office. And that administers the scholarship program. So tell us, I guess, a little bit about W.I.R and its history and its mission.
So I want to make sure that I keep this G-rated.
Oh, well.
So
Tune in, folks. Listen.
Yeah, get another cup of coffee.
let me explain that. One of our president and CEOs, Mr. Al Ballard from the Electric Cooperatives of South Carolina years ago, he and his wife, Jenny Ballard, for which the scholarship is named, they used to have what they called pillow talk. So it's technically a husband and a wife, and they're laying in bed, and they're talking about, honey, how was your day,
Right,
that sort of thing. And one of the things that they would often talk about is, the advancement of the cooperative mission and membership and serving the communities in which cooperative serves. And y'all have heard this saying, I know, a lot. Cooperatives were born in politics, they can die in politics. And so one of the things that Miss Jenny Ballard, brought to his attention was, when we ladies get together, we do some talking, and so it kind of became, we can do this. And these ladies became a very big grassroots initiative for cooperatives, and talking about the mission of cooperatives and helping members. And so that's basically what W.I.R.E originally was formed to do back in 1980. It's hard to believe it's been around 45 years. But yeah, that's what it was originally created for. it still is, but it's more of a community outreach program now. Mm-hmm. And so we have local chapters. Each of the cooperative has the ability to have a local chapter, much like Berkeley. Berkeley has a very large chapter. And all of the chapters are a part of the statewide chapter. And so we serve a vast majority of individuals within our communities. We serve children, seniors, military, families that maybe have lost their homes due to fires. So really and truly, it can be just about anything. We have all kinds of different fundraisers and drives to make money to support locally. We have 2 really large projects that we have at the statewide chapter helping seniors and children that have no permanent homes. And yeah, so it's quite a bit. And the members consist of co-op employees, wives of employees, and any female member of the cooperative that wants to be a part of it.
I shared this story with Brianna a couple of years ago. A lady from my hometown, I grew up in Walterboro and served by Coastal Electric. Just a family friend, a leader in the local church. She posted within my tenure at Berkeley Electric in the last 5 years, remembering her experiences with W.I.R.E at Coastal Electric. Wow. And it was probably late 80s, early 90s. And that experience for her in W.I.R.E just gave her a lot of confidence for leadership and public speaking, and just made a huge difference in the trajectory of her entire life. Just having this strong network of women that she was able to interact with. And, whether we're helping groups in the community or helping the members themselves, there's just so much that comes out of these groups.
I often get invited to attend local chapter W.I.R.E meetings. I've been invited to attend Berkeley's meetings before. And what always amazes me is the mentality of these women. They are so eager and ready to serve their community, to serve people that need help. They jump right in. They get busy working on whatever it is that's needed. It's like an army. And these women are absolutely incredible. And it amazes me at a local level how much they're able to get done, but it amazes me even more at a state level, just because of geography. We don't get together very often, but what these women at the statewide W.I.R.E are able to do, and the amount of money that they raise every year, and they give it right back to the community, it is absolutely amazing. I've been a member of W.I.R.E since basically 1991. And I was invited to join W.I.R.E by Jan Bonnet. She was the public relations coordinator at Mid-Carolina, and she was one of the original founding members of W.I.R.E.
Oh, wow.
And she was like, honey, you really need to just come be a part of W.I.R.E. You would just love it. And I was like, Jan, I just don't know if that's my scene. And she says, honey, you just need to come be a part of it. And I've been a part of it ever since.
Now you're in charge of it.
I'm not in charge of it. I am not in charge of it.
I don't know. This seems to be a recurring theme. You didn't want to do it. Now you're in charge of it.
I am happy. I am happy to be the person behind the scenes and moving boxes and setting up and doing whatever's needed. But really and truly, it's the ladies of W.I.R.E that just do an amazing job.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, Brianna, you support the statewide W.I.R.E efforts in addition to being the local coordinator for our 2 chapters. What kinds of works do we do here locally, and who all can join?
So, as Peggy mentioned, any women affiliated with the co-op can join, whether you're a member, just someone who has Berkeley Electric, not just, but someone who has Berkeley Electric and supports us.
Lucky enough.
Yes, exactly. Employees and their wives, retirees, board members. If you're affiliated in some way, you can definitely reach out and join W.I.R.E. We have 1 chapter, but it's comprised of 2 groups, our Allendale group and our Monk's Corner group. And they meet separately and kind of work separately, just to meet the needs of their specific communities.
Gotcha.
So we've done a lot of projects over the past few years, but some big ones that I'd like to mention. We've worked with Try to United Way at Food Share Berkeley, Jean's Angels in March for International Women's Month, so that was beautiful. Recently, Allendale helped build a home in McClellanville with East Cooper Habitat for Humanity. So they had a lot of fun with that. It was very interesting because that's not something we've done before, but they did great. We've donated school supplies and backpacks to over 200 students over the past couple years in Berkeley County and Charleston County. And then we often do donations to local senior centers. But there's so much more in between that W.I.R.E does. And, you know, like Libby mentioned, it is a way to help build connections with others in your community, as well as maybe get used to working with different personalities and advocating for you. Yes, very strong women, and I love all their perspectives. But it's, you know, a way to advocate for your community and let us know what you need, because we don't know best. You know, the people in the community know best. So it's great to hear those voices and what's needed, as well as being able to advocate for the co-op. So we try our best to make sure our W.I.R.E ladies have the tools to address certain things going on at the co-op, and are kind of first people to be able to get that word out in their communities of what's going on, opportunities we have coming up, and just, you know, just being an advocate for themselves, their community, and the co-op. So.
Yeah. And just to brag on Brianna a little bit, Brianna's brought the W.I.R.E group through COVID, and that was such an unfortunate time for so many of us. But when you're, you know, the coordinator of a social advocacy group, you know, it can be really tough to keep the group together, much less, you know, keep momentum going. And we recently had some wonderful changes in our on-dog group with just some really new, strong leadership. You know, and the old leadership is still involved, but we just have some really great momentum and energy in that group.
We have some very dynamic people that have recently joined and kind of taken the lead in on-dog W.I.R.E. We appreciate our ladies who have been with W.I.R.E for years and years and years, but they also appreciate getting that break. So it's nice to be able to give them a chance to sit back and enjoy W.I.R.E and have some new perspectives, and some people in there that really want to work, and that's really what W.I.R.E is about. So it's nice to see the legacy continue, and I hope it continues to grow. So.
We need to, I don't know what that recipe is, but we need to share that at the other local chapters, because it's sometimes difficult to get younger people involved, and so you have this older generation of leadership there, and, you know, they're working hard, but boy, it sure would be nice to have some young blood, some new ideas. So whatever that recipe is, feel free to share it with other chapters.
So I can't take full credit for that. A couple of the ladies are people that I'd spoken to and seen at different events, or they reached out about being interested. But we also have an employee that works in Onda, Lachelle. Shout out to Lachelle. She was able to get some ladies that she knew who were members in Onda connected. And a couple of the ladies don't actually live in Onda. So clarification, you don't have to live in Onda or Monk's Corner. Those are just where the meetings are. But, you know, some ladies that lived in different areas that joined Onda W.I.R.E because they have roots in Onda. So,
Well, folks, if you're now just tuning in, we're talking a lot of things about ways we can support the local women in our communities, either through the Jenny Ballard Scholarship, which is your opportunity to go back to finish your education, your higher education, and then our W.I.R.E women involved in rural electrification, our service group here at the cooperative and statewide. But let's shift gears just a little bit. Miss Peggy, when we talk about Berkeley Electric's mission, we always say it's safe, reliable, and affordable energy for our members. And of course, safety is going to be a real big component of that. And that's a theme that runs throughout all the cooperatives, I'm sure. But why is safety so important for cooperatives?
So you're right that you hear that mission statement a lot. And in order to best serve the membership, our employees need to be trained, they need to be informed, and they need to be competent, but they need to be safe. And in my opinion, employees are the greatest asset that the cooperative has, and we need to protect that asset. You know, at some co-ops, employees have more than one role, and if they become injured or they can't work, it affects everybody. It's not just a production issue.
Yeah.
I think y'all have also heard this quite a bit. You know, when you work at a cooperative, it's a family. You know, you spend time with these individuals, probably more time than you spend with your families, especially in storm situations. And so when somebody's injured, it affects all of us. We've had a couple of very serious injuries in this state, and we don't want anyone to go through that. I mean, when somebody gets injured, especially if it's a serious injury, it affects every single person. We actually have plans in place to help our employees when things like that happen, even if it's just to bring someone in to talk to them or to let them talk. And so our goal is to prevent serious injuries through continuous education and training, And again, to me, there's just nothing more important than employees going home to their families just like they came to work. You hear that a lot too. We want them to be whole. When they come to work, we want them to have 10 fingers, 10 toes, and when they leave, we want them to have the same thing. Because I'm just going to tell y'all, if you have an employee that can no longer pick up a grandchild or a child because they've lost an arm or they've lost legs or they've lost their life, you can't take it back. And so we spend a lot of time, and I'm very, very passionate about that in my role. And everyone on my staff, we're all very passionate about that. We want people to be safe.
Yeah. And we definitely have what I would call an intrusive safety culture here.
Intrusive.
We are intrusively safety conscious.
I guess that's better than invasive.
Yeah. But no, I mean, we do at least monthly training. But it sinks in whether you want it to or not. Sometimes, I find myself, we're trying to bring my 9-year-old along and getting him cutting grass and things like that at the house. And I was talking to him about weed eating, and I was like, I always wear safety glasses because you just never know when something will fly up and hit you. And when I'm using a ladder, Lord knows I'm thinking about the safety training we've had for ladders. So, it sinks in over time.
It's funny you said that. We've had several individuals tell us that when they're going through CPR training every year, and that's something they have to do every year. I'm just going to tell y'all know, when you do this training year after year, it can get a little monotonous.
Yeah.
But we've had employees tell us that having that training year after year allowed them, when they had to apply that training, when they've had to do CPR, it just kicked in. It was automatic.
Yeah, it's got to be second nature, and that's why I say it's intrusive because it has to be. For it to stick and be part of your routine, you need that.
When I was still doing presentations and safety meetings and trainings, like you talk about the intrusive safety people at your co-op, whenever I was still doing that, one of my common messages was, even if I want you to take it home. Yeah. I want you to do these things at home, not just at work, because if you get hurt at home, it still affects us at work. We don't have you. Yeah. So, yeah.
Well,
I guess I was intrusive.
Yeah. And I mean that in the best possible way.
I could tell. I could see it in your eyes.
And I think about like the ladder stuff. Every time I'm doing it wrong at home, I'm not supposed to be doing it this way, but I got to do it. So I know exactly what I'm doing wrong, but I do it anyway.
We're getting dangerously close here to me going into a spiral, but I can really take forever. Y'all talked about 4 hours. So handling chemicals at your home. When we do training here, everybody's like, oh, we don't have chemicals at the workplace. But how many of you apply like poisons on or fertilizers on your grass and just chemicals at home and ammonia and I don't want to get too deep into it, but
no, I mean, it's got to be second nature, and you have to think about it because there are so many things that can go wrong. So, Peggy, we've got just a couple of minutes left, but in addition to leading the safety and training or safety and loss control effort at statewide, statewide offers training programs to the 18 electric co-ops that are part of the organization. What all does that training function encompass? And I know you're pretty excited about a new development on the horizon.
So just to briefly give you a recap, we have safety meetings. You mentioned that a minute ago, and we provide like typical employee safety type topics. We also have a very specialized training like the CPR training. We also do something called entry-level driver training. That's for individuals that are going to get their commercial driver's license. This is required now. They have to have this entry-level driver training. We also provide field craft training for our line workers in addition to leadership training for them. And we're getting into providing leadership training for all employees now. So we're getting to be a part of that. We also provide on-site observations out in the field for crews looking for the different safety tasks that they've got in place. We do that for the cooperative's facilities. We go in and we do audits and observations of facilities, make sure that they're safe. We provide the regulatory compliance. Again, not sexy, not exciting, but it's needed. We still have to follow the law. And then we also have some special meetings at conferences that we put together for our engineers, our line crew foremen, our right-of-way and vegetation management personnel, and also our system operators. The exciting development on the horizon is that after over 60 years, and with added services and increased numbers of people that we're training, we're going to get a new training facility. And so that really, I'm very excited. That really was something that had to be approved by our entire board. It's a big investment, but as I said, we're 60 years we've been at the one-room facility training, over 600 linemen a year, and we only have one room, so we're very limited in what we can do. We're very excited. The training facility is going to be located in Tri-County Electric Cooperatives service area, right inside of Calhoun County. So about 10 minutes from Columbia. So we're very excited. Very excited. Hope to be finished next year.
Awesome.
Well,
Congrats.
folks, we definitely needed a 4-hour show because we've already run out of time and we've still things we haven't touched on. But very quickly to recap, for more information about the Jenny Ballard Scholarship, you can go to the ecsc.org/wire or just go to the statewide Electric Cooperatives of South Carolina statewide website. The applications are accepted until June 1st, and if you're interested in joining Berkeley Electric W.I.R.E chapters, you can reach out to the sparkling young lady sitting beside me, Ms. Brianna Johnson. So thank you for tuning in to Power Talk. This is the official broadcast of your electric cooperative, and you can catch up on past episodes on streaming platforms like Spotify, Apple, and iHeartRadio. And as always, get a behind-the-scenes look on Berkeley Electric's YouTube channel. So until next time, this is Power Talk, signing off.